Hi, welcome to episode 5 of New to Hill Country. I'm your host, Michael Hines. I moved to Hill Country back in October of 2019, and this podcast is really my process of getting to know the area and getting to know the people within it. And if you're new to the area or you've been here for a long time, I hope you can learn a little something too. Today I'm talking to Mason Inks, owner of CW Pools. He's going to talk about the pool industry, how they make pools, and it's he's got a lot to cover in all of that. Um, I am just some background on the podcast. If you're new to it, I am the owner and head coach at SBG Texas. SBG Texas teaches martial arts, yoga, and meditation to kids and adults. If you want to know more about that, you can check us out at www.sbgtexas.com. Our show sponsor is LMNT. LMNT is an electrolyte mix developed by Elemental Labs, working in association with Rob Wolf. It's an amazing, it's just little packets that you get. You dump it into about 16 ounces of water, takes care of your hydration needs without giving you a bunch of sugar and nonsense. I used to drink, oh God, tons of water before I started consuming LMNT every day, and I just feel so much better hydrated all the time. So, without further ado, we'll get right into the show, talking with Mason, owner of CW Pools and longtime resident of Hill Country.
All right. Welcome to the show. I'm here with Mason Inks today, and he is owner of a pool company and a longtime resident of Hill Country. So, welcome to the show, Mason.
Hi. Thanks for having me. I'm pretty excited about talking with you.
Cool. Hey, Mason. So, did you grow up in Hill Country, or are you from somewhere else?
I grew up here in New Braunfels. I've lived here pretty much my whole entire life, except for, we moved up to Canyon Lake for a couple years.
Okay.
And then moved back to New Braunfels area. But pretty much my whole life I've been here, and it's been wonderful. Love the area, the rivers and everything. So,
Great. How much has it changed for you in your lifetime being around, like, not necessarily even just New Braunfels, just Hill Country in general? What are some of the biggest changes you've noticed over the course of your life here?
Well, I would say the growth, the crazy amount of growth that's gone. When I was in high school, I went to Canyon High School, which if you look back 20 years, even 10 years, right over by Canyon High School, middle school over there, they have developed everything, and population is like I would say almost tripled from what it was. We used to be able to go, when we used to go for football practice today, coaches would have us go run on these back roads, but you can't do that anymore. I feel like I know people still say it's like a small town, but I feel like it's getting to a much bigger town than what it is. But, at the same time, it still's got that small town vibe, I feel like, which is pretty cool. Downtown is more, when I grew up, we never really went and did much stuff downtown. And now they actually have a lot of things to, kind of keep you occupied to do and stuff like that. So good growth. And it's, I like it, with all the people coming in and doing stuff. So
as someone who's totally new to the area, what is there to do in downtown New Braunfels? Like, what draws you down there in particular? And you can just talk about what it is for you that you like. It's all good.
Well, so for me, I really like, walking, just being able to walk down around all the places and see it. It looks historic to me. And just kind of, it's almost like, I guess what people would say sightseeing. Even though I'm a local, I love kind of just walking by the shops. My wife loves the ice cream shop down there, so we kind of go with all this stuff. We're not going there daily, but we were walking down there daily and doing that. And then we'd walk down to look at the Comal, and then go over to Landa Park and play with the kids. Go over by Worst Hall, which that it had burnt, but they're fixing that and getting that ready for Worst Fest coming up. But, just being able to kind of like, connect with people too at the same time, walking down, everybody's really friendly, and just have, sometimes at least for me, I strike up conversations every once in a while with walking down there, and my wife loves, exercise, and that's what we like to do is just go around and do stuff like that. There's places like, to me, there's a couple bars down there that people love to go to. And I don't really do go to bars, but there's quite a few popular bars down there that people go and have a good time. And then there's quite a good bunch of, I would say, eating establishments like McAdoo's and Myron's and stuff like that. And then small little knick-knack shops and stuff like that.
What are the bars that you think are particularly popular?
The Poorhouse, which when me and you met the first time, we were pretty close to that one. I don't know if you went in there, no. But they have live music, which most of those bars are going to have live music, but they have live music. And I want to say every time, I used to go jogging every night, and man, that place, there would always be a bunch of people there every day of the week, it seems like. And it just, it's one popular place, I would say. There's one that's been there for a long time that I've known since I was, I think I went to it back when I was in my early 20s, is Scores. And there's also the Oyster Bar, which they right next to them is a good pizza joint. But, local, I just like the concept of the local people owning it.
Sure.
Not, kind of, I like the local vibe of everything kind of going down over in that area. Sure, especially even when I was talking about the ice cream shop, the personalities of people and getting to talk to them. It's not just like, hey, here's your ice cream or something. You strike a conversation, talk to someone about something important to them.
That's cool. Which ice cream shop is it that you like?
It's the Scoop Street. They make custom. When I say I like it, my wife loves it, so I like it because she loves it. So I would say to me, but if she loves it, I'm gonna love it. So
sure,
it's they have custom flavor. It's like Italian, and it's gelato. It's like Italian ice cream. So it's and her favorite is tart, and they have tart, which I guess that to me it tastes like kind of like cereal or something along those lines. And that's one thing that she must have, even with all this stuff going down. I went in there, I'm like, I need a gallon of this stuff, man. I need you to help me out. So getting that stuff, and then we'll go down to Sweet Tarts over in that area and get cookies and baked goods and stuff like that. And there's also Neglin's over there that we'll go get bread for any type of stuff. That's just good produce and everything.
Sure. Have most of those places been there for quite a while, or?
Well, Neglin's has been here, I don't know exactly, but crap, they've been here for, I want to say, I don't know if it's been 100 years, but they opened up a long time ago, and they've been one of the oldest, I want to say the oldest businesses in New Braunfels, which they're pretty close to actually where the Oyster Bar is, and but they're a bakery, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, they do deliver a lot of baked goods to a lot of other local businesses, and then people go in there. Like, we went in there a couple of weeks ago to get some tortillas. They were running a special, and we went and got some tortillas. You can get bread, cookies, you can get a lot of stuff, and then different things like that. So it's pretty cool to see that there's businesses that are still around doing that good and being that old. Sure. It doesn't seem, as time goes on, as there's that many businesses that are like that anymore.
Sure. Oh yeah, everything kind of gets it gets harder to compete with franchises and things like that. Yeah, and there's some people with a really strong some people have a really strong predilection towards the franchise. Like, they kind of like the idea of having the exact same thing that exists in like Washington State, for example, could be in, Texas or something. I think that's the I guess the marketing strategy of the franchise going back to the 60s is that consistency in result. But and I respect that, but I don't know. I'm a bigger fan of local stuff myself, so I tend to always be trying to find things as local as I can get them. And so yeah, I'm always looking for. I always want to eat at the local place, drink at the local place. I think there's a strong argument to be made that. Gosh, and I don't know who it was. I was reading this sociology text, and they're talking about how people sometimes believe that through franchising that they get access to a greater variety of things, but actually local diversity gets destroyed typically in that process, and so the total variety that people experience goes down when you actually start calculating everything, which is yeah, I don't know. It was a kind of a culinary study, and they were showing that like local variations in dishes goes down dramatically with franchises because people get accustomed to one particular taste for a particular item. I don't know.
Well, and that is exactly, I could see that being right. Is like, if I want Italian, I love Olive Garden, and if we go to like a local, I grew up eating something like that, and you go to a local Italian restaurant, and I'm like, my wife's like, hey, that's actually what it should taste like. I'm like, but it doesn't taste like the chicken parmesan from that one.
Right.
I'm like, oh man, but it's just no, I could totally see what you mean on that.
I mean, this is a bit of a tangent, but do you eat much? You ever eat much Indian food? Are you into Indian food at all, or?
I don't know if I can't, I don't think I have, which is crazy to be honest. I don't even know if there's one in New Braunfels. If
there is. It's like Seven Monk or something like that. I haven't tried it yet, but the thing about Indian food that can throw people off is like India is still a truly diverse region, and so most dishes, like, it really depends on the cook. So there are a number of dishes that are pretty standard to like an Indian menu, but how they'll actually taste restaurant to restaurant and cook to cook will really just vary dramatically. Like the concept and the ingredients will be roughly the same, but everybody's kind of like, there'll be something like palak paneer, and it's like everyone's got their own sort of recipe for that. And if you go across India, you'd probably eat like 1,000 different types of palak paneer or something, like, and I think that's
pretty cool.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Like, and generally speaking, everybody believes that their version is the correct version. So like everybody else is kind of, yeah, it makes sense, right? So I don't know. I've always liked that, and I think it's kind of a neat perspective on cooking and stuff. I think sometimes gets a little lost in consumerism and commercial development as kind of getting too close to one taste for everything. So
exactly, and that's the same going for New Braunfels in general. Of as the movers and shakers keep moving around here, I just you just watch things grow, and you're just hoping that it doesn't lose that touch that we get where it's invaded, and what New Braunfels gets lost at the same time. And I'm hoping that's not the case. And it looked to me, I don't have that vibe from it. I want it to be, the way I feel like it is, people want to help each other, that are in neighbor to neighbor concepts, and want to keep it that way.
Sure.
So,
well, I think a lot of what you're saying right there may be what's really drawing people into the area and why there's so much growth, is I think there are a lot of people that are looking for that. Because I feel like you can get the standard kind of that kind of standard other American experience in a lot of other places, whereas New Braunfels is still offering that kind of local feel, which is really cool. How did you guys take to Canyon Lake? You said you moved up there for a little while. It's also a part of Hill Country, so talk me through that.
Canyon Lake, it was a pretty cool experience living up there. We lived up there. Well, my dad had moved up there, and when I first started my business, I decided to move back. Me and my wife decided to move back in with them to kind of help me kind of get started with everything, kind of
Sure.
like a little netting to kind of fall
Sure.
back if there was an issue.
Sure.
And when we moved out there, we lived there for 2 years, and I want to say, it was the biggest difference in Canyon Lake, I would say, from New Braunfels is when I'm talking about walking downtown and getting to places and stuff like that, you ain't gonna really do that unless you're walking across 306. It is exactly like hill country that you're talking about. It's really not developed as much. A lot more trees. The beautiful thing about Canyon Lake is when we were out, we could go outside and sit and look at the stars at night. No light pollution, and that's cool to do. I had never really done anything like that, so just kind of be able to feel a little bit more with nature, I would say. There's places out here in New Braunfels that you got people that have acreage and do that, but it's a little bit more developed now, and you ain't gonna have that. So, and then being on the lake, we going out there to be able to go jet skiing and boating and stuff like that, and go swimming. It's a beautiful place. There's not too many places out there. A lot of the food establishments change over the years. There's not, I would say, like, a lot of people that we noticed that we knew either were selling or moving, and a lot of people from Houston were moving in out over there and buying places and stuff like that. But we didn't really want to permanently live out in that area. We wanted to kind of move back into town, just because we just didn't like it's a community, but it's not as close knit a community to me as it was in New Braunfels. And being able to go and do stuff and be able to, take the kids and do stuff at the same time. So, but overall, we had a pretty enjoyable time. The biggest thing, I guess, is, if you wanted to, you could do whatever you wanted without anybody pretty much saying anything, because there was not hardly anybody right next to you. So that's the biggest thing. I guess if you want more freedoms of not wanting to piss your neighbor off if you were doing something outside, like we do welding and cutting, and stuff like that, and on top of everything, and people, you can't do that around here unless you have like a shop.
Sure.
So learning difference on that. So
well, let's actually talk a little bit about your business now. So you when did you get started, and what were you doing before you decided to open a business? That interests me a lot as well.
Well, growing up, my dad, he did water towers, and every summer I would go to work with him since I was like 5 years old and do stuff like welding. He taught me bunches of stuff to do all that. And I always thought I was going to be a water tower guy. Like everybody else wanted to, like, I want to go to college, I want to do that. I was like, I want to do what my dad does. And I thought, well, I'm going to do this. And then when I was about 15, his boss got into building swimming pools, and I started kind of working the summers doing the same thing. And I was like, I kind of like this, but at the same time, I was like, man, sandblasting water tanks, painting that sounds so much cooler. And then right as I got out of high school, I got offered a job to work with them, and I took it, and I built swimming pools for about 4 years with a company called Pools Unlimited out of Bulverde with my dad. And me and him kind of fought like cats and dogs. So we decided, hey, it's not working out. You need to kind of go to your different way. So I met with a guy that did welding, and he did fences in the Bulverde area, making custom fences. And I did that for about 9 months. And I decided, I was like, this is not fun. So I decided to get back into the swimming pool area. And I moved to a company in New Braunfels called All Seasons Pools. And I serviced swimming pools, repaired them. They did not build, but we did remodeling and stuff like that. And I kind of helped get that company to a point where we could do repairs that they weren't used to doing. They were used to kind of just replacing pumps and filters. And when we started, we were me and I call him my brother now, but a guy I met there working named Trey. We do it almost all of the work we do nowadays is together too at the same time. What we kind of learned, together we kind of paved our own ways in the pool industry, I would say, like to kind of be able to do what we are doing today. And then after that, I was like, you know what, I want to do my own business. And then I talked to my dad, and I've been in business for myself for, I guess this would be my third year. Maybe it might be my fourth year actually. But now we're building, remodeling, servicing, anything on a swimming pool, a gunite swimming pool, we can take care of for somebody, whether it be adding a new light to a skimmer or building a brand new project. And then on top of that, being able to really specialize in fixing other pool builders' mistakes, I would say, because there's a lot of pool builders out there, but there's not a lot of people that know how to fix them and fix them right. And the reason being is it takes time and different situations to get you to a point of seeing, like, in this situation, how do I fix this? And it could just kind of how there's so many different opinions on what's the best and how this works the best, and what an engineer will tell you versus what it actually practically works for fixing something, and stuff like that. And it's just, I love what I do. I think that was the biggest thing. I would have never gone off and done this if I wouldn't have fallen in love with what I do. I feel like fixing that stuff, I've turned everything into kind of like a hobby as swimming pool. I do some metal work, but I love doing it on the swimming pools, and I think that's, the biggest thing with anybody who does anything. If you can fall in love with what you're doing, you'll be, I don't see how you can't be successful or be good at it or something like that along those lines. So,
like I want to roll back to a couple things you said. Well, first of all, what's the name of your business?
It's Clearwater Pools.
Clearwater Pools. Okay. And where would I need to go to check your business out?
Actually, I only do Instagram, and I do word of mouth. So it's My CW Pools on Instagram. And then I do not have a website yet. And I don't know why. One day I will do it. I keep on saying I'm going to use Squarespace with the Joe Rogan code on it, but one day, but not yet. So
it's not as bad as you might think. And actually, just between us, I could hook you up with a guy that would probably do it very, very cheap. And he's very good. He's the person that did my website and stuff. Good friend of mine. So he just does very good work. He used to be making websites full time, and now he does other things. He runs a company, but usually if I ask him, I can guess what your needs would be, and he'll be like, oh, I could do that in an hour. So he'll just
basically like the way I would think of it is, some people use it to advertise to get more business, and it's like the way I've built my brand and the way I've always done it is, I guess I have my brother working for me and a couple other guys that help on other jobs, and we just actually hired someone yesterday, and they started today, and they're going to kind of learn to do some of that stuff. So we're growing because it's just, but at the same time, it's I don't want to get too big too quick, where you lose quality over quantity, on that stuff. So either way.
No, I understand that. Yeah, it's tricky. Yeah, you want to make sure you have the personnel doing things the way you want them doing it and everything. I completely understand. When you were talking earlier about a lot of times fixing other pool builders like mistakes, could you give me like an example of that without going like completely over my head, since I'm not a pool owner and I don't know much about pool construction. I like swimming in pools, but what would be something that's typical? And the reason I say that somebody listening might have a pool and they might have this problem. I don't know. So what would be what's the most common thing you see that's like, oh yeah, that should be fixed, and kind of what will that mean if we fix it, sort of?
Well, yeah, basically, a lot of times what happens during the building phases is, most builders, I want to say even the biggest builders, don't have everything in house. You're going to have subs. So what happens is people are not watching over during certain processes of the project that, might be small right then and there, but it's very critical going forward. So one example being, if someone's, we'll just go to say skimmers, setting a skimmer in.
What is a skimmer?
A skimmer is going to be where all the leaves are going to get trapped off the top of the surface.
Okay.
Usually you see this like a lid on the deck, and you empty a basket. Exactly. So, so when they're setting the skimmers, a lot of times these builders don't put rebar in the structure around a skimmer. So over time, when they're shooting what we call gunite during the whole process, they'll shoot that gunite, and then it could be either due to no structural steel in it, or when they're shooting gunite, they take the excess that what we call rebound sprayed off, and then they'll just kind of shovel it and they'll throw it in the skimmer boxes. So some pool builders don't want to, they want to save some money, and the problem with doing we'll just talk about rebound. Some of that rebound, taking it and throwing it in there, we're going to have either a cold joint or just bad stuff when it comes to that, because that material, when it's sprayed on with gunite like that, some of that stuff that's fallen off like that, it's lost. It's become harder. It's not going to compact as well. It's just inferior to when it is actually being shot in there. It should be thrown out. And so they'll pack them in this, and then over the years, it might be in the first 3 years, the pool shifts a little bit, that whole skimmer kind of cracks, and then you get a big crack going, and you get a lot of water loss, or anything like that, and then you got to replace a skimmer. A skimmer replacement that me and Trey will do, anywhere from $2,500 to $3,500, which that's freaking expensive when you can just fix it during the process for less than $100 worth of steel. I mean, you're talking about like $20 worth of steel, or just the human error. That's why I call human error. It's not that and then I don't think anyone does it on purpose. It's just when a project's being done, it's the supervision. That's why it's really important. Whoever you do hire, it does have someone that's gonna sit there and make sure everything's going the right way. I see. And I'm not knocking on any of subcontractors. I use subcontractors. Everybody does. You just got to make sure all your ducks are in a row before you do a job or anything like that. So
sure.
But another major one is kind of plumbing that some people will use. Some people use flex lines and flex hose. So you get hard PVC, Schedule 40 hard PVC, where and you've probably seen flexible hose PVC, where you can kind of move it around by hand and stuff like that. Well, people will put that on the suction lines, like on skimmers or main drains. Well, the problem is, over years, like 10 years, sometimes 5 years, depending on how well your chemicals are kept, that stuff sucks together because it's so malleable as it is.
I see.
At the same time, it'll collapse. It's good to use on spas. We'll use it because you got to make curves around a spa if you're putting spa jets in. But on suction lines, it's a no-no. But it's more expensive to use that stuff. But it's so much easier if me and you dug a trench instead of someone can just roll a hose out like that and kind of just run it all the way back to the equipment, versus me and you having to put 45s, 90s and make all these cutting joints, or heat it up with a torch, with a hardened PVC. So it's just people trying to save time, but over their time saved has cost their customer pain and suffering, I would say, to me, and that stuff. So, I mean, those are kind of like the two major ones that I see. And then you'll see every once in a while, it's just, just dumb things that were people putting, literally like putting, if you're building one and you got a tree that is right next to your swimming pool, like right on the beam. I'm like, you got to be careful with doing trees too close to your swimming pool, stuff like that, because roots will grow. I mean, roots will grow anywhere if you have any kind of leaks, but I just, I don't agree with having trees built right next to your structure. You can have it pretty darn close, but not right next to a swimming pool. because it just causes, those trees are stronger than that kind of gunite will be after that water leak. And that's the crazy thing about Mother Nature. They will destroy anything man-made if you give them time.
Sure.
So
interesting. Kind of, there's something you were saying there about like, you're looking for the shortcut. It's like sometimes the long way is the shortcut. That's kind of the funny side of things.
No, yeah. And it's the biggest thing is, and if anyone's ever, say listening to this and they're thinking about building a swimming pool, when you're talking to them, the biggest thing to ask them is, what's their process of building? How do you start? If you are using subs, who's coming out and, are we having a supervisor come out check daily or only once during a major thing? And, usually you want someone coming. And, if I build one, I'm going to be out there daily doing something along the lines. I do all the plumbing for my builds and the electrical and setting the equipment. I could do the steel, but I have a guy that does the steel that does it every day. But I'm there when he's doing the steel because he'll have me questions like, if you're building a swimming pool and we have a 12-inch beam, we're going to set our steel at 9 inches. So we got 3 inches of coverage in the front, and then it's basically like I call it like a box beam of steel inside there. But some of those guys, other builders, want to put it, they want their walls thinner. They don't want it 12 inches. They want it 9 inches. So that guy might put his steel at 6 inches because he's so used to his other builder telling him to put it at 6 inches. And then you go to shoot your walls, and they say they put it at my depth, 9 inches. And then they go to shoot your walls, and you only have you only have an inch of gunite in front. You're going to have a bunch of rust coming through your plaster because you got in that. I've seen that. It's crazy. It's just like that was such. If you would have told someone that one detail, that some of those cases, that it's almost like it's not like a total rip out where you have to take everything out. You can fix it, but it's just like, oh man, that's a major thing you have to deal with, or anything along those lines.
I see. Well, that's interesting. Where do you see things going with the company long term? Like, what are your plans long term for?
Well, I would say that really I want to build. I go back and forth on what I want to do with my company. I want to, at some days, I want to have a bunch of people, helping a bunch of people with I want to almost help everybody, but I know I can't concept, So I've kind of come to the grips that I want to kind of do, like, I want to keep it smaller, but at the same time, eventually my goal right now is in the next couple of years to get up to being able to build, say, 20 pools a year, and then be able to employ another 10 people on top of that.
Okay.
So just to kind of help, I want to pave my way here in New Braunfels a little bit, kind of help kind of define a little bit of being a different builder than others. But at the same time, I want to be there I do help other builders in the same, if they have problems. That's another thing I do. I never want to throw anybody under the bus. It's like, if they have an issue, we can help you. There's not a lot of companies that'll come in and do that. So kind of specializing in helping others at the same time. So
that's cool.
So
cool. Just give me a second. I had another question for you. So what are the main things you make? Like, when we say pools, like, and then you mentioned kind of jacuzzis in there too. So just kind of what's the basic range of your products? Like,
so anywhere from I want to say I don't do any type of fiberglass or standalone jacuzzis. We do all gunite custom, like concrete structures and stuff like that. I mean,
okay.
Our main, like, I guess our products, we specialize in Pentair, which, going to that, there's like 4 main product lines in the pool industry, and Pentair is one of them. And I I do make custom fences around swimming pools, even though I don't. When I start to do it, I'm like, why am I doing this concept? But I can do that. Going forward, if we do fences around a new build, we'll probably buy pre-made fence unless they want like some kind of custom made one that they can't do something along those lines. But most of our products we buy from a distribution center that most other pool builders can get. So, and the custom, I would say the custom made stuff that I do, it would be the fencing and stuff like that. I'll go pick up steel and make my own stuff, which that's like, that's one of those, it gets into like, I turn the pool thing into like something I love too. And it's fun sometimes to kind of change it up a little bit and be like, hey, we're going to do some metalworking today besides, clean some swimming pools or, build something or something like that. We're going to build a fence, I was, do anything like that, kind of help out anybody that one of my customers kind of help out with what they need in that concept. Sure. So sure. I'm trying not to get into being a general contractor, but sometimes people got me doing stuff like that. I poured a sidewalk a couple weeks ago, and because she's a little old lady that she's really nice, and she's like, I can't get anybody to do it, and I was like, I will come do it for you if it'll make you happy. And that's it made her day, and that's like what else. Like, all right, beautiful. I'll make her day. That's what we'll do. So
beautiful.
Either way,
that's cool. Well, hey, it's been a lot of fun chatting with you here, and let's go back over where do I go to find out more info about you? What do we need to plug? The Instagram and
I would say Instagram, and it has my phone number, and that's where I'm kind of keeping my profile of work. Eventually, I'll do a Facebook, but it's my CW Pools, and then I do the one thing I did want to add is when I'm doing all this stuff, the one other main person I do work with his name is Trey Oaks, and he has a swimming pool company called Oaks Pools, and he has a website you can go to. So if he has a lot of any kind of big jobs he does, I do with him. We we work hand in hand, like I said, doing stuff like that. So you can also go to oakspools.com and you can talk to him. He does, anything I do. If he's doing a project, I'm going to be out there seeing you. If I'm doing a project, he's going to be out there seeing you. So it's one of those things too.
Cool. All right. Well, hey, it's great talking with you, Mason, and good luck with all the pools and stuff. And we'll be in touch.
Well, I appreciate you letting me come on here, and I will look forward to seeing you in the gym again.
Yeah, that should be coming pretty soon.
Right.
Great.